Click the links for Odysee and BitChute. Writing Your Kink, the Aubrey Sitterson story. Aubrey is the 911 guy, in case you forgot. Some sort of Bolshevik who mostly seems like a useful idiot. The kind of guy to keep yelling, "This isn't real communism," as they give him a last cigarette. I, unfortunately, will be standing right next to him, smoking and saying, "Dude, this is actually peak communism." This is Archie Meets a Midsummer's Night's Dream. The two leads are an insanely muscled giant woman with an artist who is unsure of her ethnicity, so she varies from panel to panel. It's cringe. It's what soy boys do when they want to be woke, but it comes across as just so incredibly stupid. Write what you know and just stick with that until you master it, and then start branching out. And no, anyway. So let's ask the obvious question. Do African stories have a history of women running around like European knights? No, they didn't. I don't think they ever had metallurgy or oring or smelting, or at least it wasn't very widespread. The Maasai were great warriors, but they used oxhide shields and spears. They were mostly ranchers, or the equivalent of cattle was their thing, who slaughtered other ranchers for cattle, which would make for a good story, but something like Aubrey would probably be afraid to touch it. It's like, just don't. Just do it. Just do it. You're not... Like, this kind of stuff isn't going to go there. You might as well swing for the fences, is what I mean. There's some guy, Michael Bancroft, was interviewing the other night, and the guy was selling his comic book on Indiegogo, and he was talking to other people in the industry. He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to go check out Comicsgate," and they're saying, "Oh, you'll be blacklisted from the industry." And he's like, "What industry? He's a small guy. He's not getting work anyway. That's not likely to change in a shrinking industry. What's to lose?" Yeah, you're absolutely right. Swing for the fences. In something like that, don't play it safe, because there's very little reward in playing it safe. Just jump on board and go for it. So the characters in this story already don't fit. Women don't fight because they have babies, and on average, they're a little bit weaker than men. But mostly, they're reproductive. That's like the most important role of the binary division of the sexes, is that one is carrying the kid to term. Trying to force women into these roles is just beyond stupid. It doesn't sit well with the reader. Men don't want it, and neither do women. It seems to be written as a sexual fetish for Aubrey, which is absolutely fine, but it's going to have a very small market. This part of the adult market, male submissive, female dominant, it's really rare. I just don't see a way to put this on shelves and have enough people interested in this for more than like 2 issues. And I'm joking around, but if this is your legitimate kink, I don't mean to be offensive about it. I mean, from a sales perspective, it's just not going to fly. And since I kind of see the dominant submissive role play that you're going for, you might just be better off making them both male, and then you could market it as the BLT POC sort of story, which would probably get you 10 times the sales. Because I can't imagine that the straight market is going to pick this up. It's played almost as pure comedy, which doesn't hook the reader when it's the 2 lead characters. You save the comedy for the sidekicks. But Aubrey and the artist actually work really well together to create funny scenes, but I think it's going to go to waste, probably. The weird thing is that the art style really draws in the reader, and the story is legitimately funny. But you gotta think in real world terms. People are less likely to pay $4 a month, or $3.59 on Mid-World Comics, to watch a submissive male's sexual fantasy play out, which actually sort of sucks in terms of creativity. It's sort of like getting monetized on YouTube, which I've been thinking about lately. People make videos to fit the algorithm, and that is the alpha and omega of it. The videos are made to feed the middle of the bell curve and to get the most eyeballs while staying within the rules of YouTube. So the videos actually mostly suck if you pay attention to them. Once a channel is monetized, you lose all the quirky, weird stuff. like this comic definitely is. And I wish I knew sports better for an analogy, but it's like the older, freer YouTube would occasionally get a home run with the bases loaded, where now you simply get to first base, and that's considered a win. In the old days, you could have Spencer and Sargon doing a live stream together, and it would trend on the page, the first homepage of YouTube, and those streams were a lot of fun. Now the best live streams are on Odysee and DLive. There's a guy on DLive who had Andrew Torba on the other night. It was incredible. And on YouTube, it's like that should have got 10,000 people in the audience. On DLive, I think it got like 300, but that also means that you can talk to people, which is kind of amazing. So, because I kind of think Gab is kind of going to be the future. So I guess it's more accurate to say that this is a good comic, but the market distribution isn't set up to handle it, partially because, Marvel and DC destroyed it. If the industry was healthy, if the country was healthy, then there would be room for this. But comics would be $2.25, and kids would get money from mowing lawns. Now those lawn jobs go elsewhere, and stores are converting over to manga and games. Store footprints are the same, but the value of the dollar is so much less. Hey, Biden, printing money turns money from Magic Rothschild's paper back into ordinary linen. Who's running Biden and the Federal Reserve? It's as if they are purposely turning America into Brazil, like there is a plan or something. Anyway, in times like this, where gas is $4 to $5 a gallon and your dollar is being devalued, there isn't room for stuff like this. Comics are already frivolous expenses, but something like this is extra frivolous in terms of total store shelf space. They have to move X amount. Each square inch has to make X amount of profit. Anyway, the concept of inflation sort of applies to comics also. If you have a comic that goes out the door with one cover and it's 30,000 shipped to stores, if it's good, it'll sell and the comics will have resale value. Sometimes a lot if it's rare. But when you hire SJWs to write stories, they suck. They really, really suck. They don't know what they're doing. And they don't sell, so you have to use tricks to boost those numbers instead of just firing these crazy cat ladies and hiring people who can write stories that aren't just pure Bolshevik propaganda, which apparently is just a bridge too far to ask. It's like the SJWs in comics didn't actually want the long-term health of the industry any more than they want the health of the country. We need to open the doors so we can be all things to all people. We need to get rid of the men who made all this possible and bring in women who actually seem to hate the customer, hate the stories, hate everything about themselves and the world, and are just angry at the dads they never had. Why not for cigarettes, I guess? How will that help the industry, the country, sales, whatever? Where we're going, we won't need sales. Yeah, but there won't be off-brand comics like this either. People just won't be able to afford them. The comics used for movie IPs are going to have to stay active, but anything other than that is probably going to be gone. The more that I think about it, it's like the people who effed up comics and films have the same energy as those who effed up an entire nation. They did things repeatedly that kind of felt good to do, but in the long term hurt the industry and the country. They virtue signal with diversity. It feels good. The result is low sales in comics or woke films or Chicago and Minneapolis, which are sort of failed experiments. Where violence barely gets covered on the news because it's istophobic and commonplace. If this story isn't written as Aubrey's sexual fantasy, then what was the point of it? Turning a woman into a man simply because it's the way to get attention from the woke crowd? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They don't support you. You're the wrong color, sex, and sexuality. Let me explain humans to you. SJWs don't human well. Most women want to be submissive and dominated somewhat, much more than men want to actually dominate them. Men are usually dominant without wanting to dominate. There's a big difference there. We mostly wished that the woman machine ran itself, but it doesn't. It needs maintenance and constant adjustments to be happy. Audrey doesn't understand that, and maybe that sounds weird if you heard it at first blush, but think about it. It's not as weird as it sounds if you hear what I'm saying. Aubrey doesn't understand that males, like, yeah, we understood you the first time, you idiot. Oh, all right. Aubrey doesn't understand that males mostly want assertive women, but not domineering assholes any more than women don't want domineering asshole men. Men and women sort of keep each other in line. So take this story and reverse the roles. You have one character subservient at a low enough level so their mouth is at crotch level, ready to service master. It's silly. It's pretty standard BDSM writing, but it doesn't make sense here in what should be a very lighthearted, I don't know, Henry Rider Haggard jungle tale, Lost World, whatever. But it really doesn't make sense with the male staring up submissively at the female's crotch. I think you'd be better off just making an adult comic, like, you know, for a certain segment of the market. You'd probably be better off. Just my thoughts. So anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all next episode.